They're set on the front of the grid. The Jacuzzi Spas Australian Production Car Series, Race 3, Round 1 of the year. Been a fantastic start to the season so far. Compulsory pit stop window in this race. A great start, as we said, for Rick Bates. Takes him straight to the front. Bob Pearson up the inside of Berwick Linton should be able to take second place, but the power of the M3 up into turn 1. Look at it go zooming down the outside, and P1 goes back to Berwick Linton.
That does it. Rick Bates hangs on for the inside run there. It'll put him on the outside there, but oh, look at the Lancer. Spears off into the boonies. The yellow and orange bright car. That'd be Justin, I'm not sure who's at the wheel, whether that's Worley or whether it's Justin Miller. It's Justin Miller. He regains ever so gently, but have a look at that BMW. Once he grabbed third gear and it just sprinted on by. Well, let's have a look in the background. There's Tony Orford coming through in the little Lotus. Where is the Sharon Rentals M4? There it is as well, after perfecting some repairs overnight. It looks like it didn't even have the front completely off it like it did last night. They're starting to push their way through as well, but Berwick Linton, what a charge. That M3 down the straight. I've never seen anything chase down two Evos quite as easy as it did then.
Tell you what's been also another great charge too is the number 7 Lotus of Ryan Simpson in the car at the moment. He shares that with Jim Policina. That car had to be taken away and a new engine put in overnight. They used the one from the Dania and D'Alberto car into that car last night, and it is up into 7th place. Into 9th place. Doing a great job.
Yeah, that is fantastic. They've been having to pawn parts off a car that's stricken, and the crew's worked right throughout the night. A new car to the Australian Motorsport landscape. There it is, coming down the straight, but out in front now. Have a look at Callaghan taking it up to Rick Bates here. The big HSV. It's not going to be the best bit of kit through this part of the track, but point it straight, point it nice out of turn 4, and it will be right on the back of that Evo, out over the back of the ripple strip. A little bit desperate driving there by Callaghan, just trying to stay with Rick Bates. I guess once these Evos and the Berwick Linton BMW drive away, it's going to be the biggest job ever to try and drag them back over the next hour in this race. Under 55 minutes left to go, and here's a couple of BMWs getting together. The one we're looking at is car number 1, and that is the Sharon Hire car of Grant Sharon.
That's like 17th and 21st so far.
Sorry, Specs. Ian Sharon.
Ian Sharon's in there. It was Grant Sharon on the timing screen at the start.
Yep.
We've now been told that it is Ian Sharon in the car, and he did the job yesterday as well in race 1. That car was at the back of the field after a shocking qualifying for the BMW M4. He was able to take the car up to 2nd place, hand that to Grant Sharon for the 2nd race, who unfortunately had a spin, as we said, on turn 4 under his own steam, put it in the wall and a fair bit of damage to the front. So Ian Sharon looking to do the same again today.
Under brakes now, Rick Bates defending that HSV. Both of them getting a little bit of sideways action there. You'd reckon the nearly 2 tons of the HSV would push sideways pretty easily, but Rick Bates in the yellow product Evo 10.
I'm going to bow to your knowledge here, Daz, but there seems to be a bit of black smoke coming out of that Evo.
Standard.
Yeah?
No problems at all. They just reach it up to protect the turbo down as it's accelerating there. They could probably lean it up and get another 10 kilowatts out of it. We've got some long racing. They don't need it. They're not wanting for horsepower, that's for sure. Well, I guess having said that, got left behind by the BMW off the line, but how much do you stress it? Yeah, you glow the turbo white hot, and then next thing you know, you're parked up somewhere.
Speaking of horsepower, that Carademus car had, as we said, a whole rebuild effectively on the left-hand side. Doors and panels and body bits everywhere. The one thing that they did have an issue with that car this morning was the turbo and getting it up to proper boost. We assume that they've probably been able to do that now that the car's out on track.
Being that he's picking off numbers at abandon at the moment, he's already up to 20 seconds. So good on George, the guy that works so hard at going motor racing. He needs to be commended for it, doing with the Ford product. And Rick Bates again defending Callaghan right up the outside and driving it off the back wheels there. Spectacular stuff for a couple of laps, but when you start to leave big black lines exiting turn 1 there, the rear Hankooks, which is a controlled tyre on that Commodore, will be absolutely getting blasted. We're just seeing it there now, starting to turn in, suffering from understeer. I would say he's going to have to relinquish this pursuit. Have a look at Ryan Simpson now, drives right up alongside Anthony and gets through. Currently fifth on the road. No, Anthony not giving up. In fact, goes up onto the ripple strip, bounces it around a bit in the AMG and continues the drag race up the hill. And the Merc will get its nose in front at the top of the hill, though. I'd rather be in the Lotus and tip that nice low centre of gravity, extremely well balanced and poised Lotus in to the top of the hill here and plunging down into down.
First weekend we've seen the Lotus in competition here in the Australian Production Car Series, and we've got a really good indication as to what it can do right there. It not only has a good baseline speed, but also has fantastic braking opportunities for drivers in it.
Certainly do. They really are renowned for their lightweight, low centre of gravity, being able to turn on its axis. Very well balanced, well poised car. Here we go now, Callahan. This is a big run, the biggest run he's had at Rick Bates. Puts him on the inside for the run into turn 2. He's got to use that now. He's got to make it work because he should be able to drive away going up the back straight and just get a little bit of relief for himself heading up the hill. Bates is right there with him. Wide out over the ripple strip. Bates keeping off the ripple strip. Here's the run. Let's see how the V8 handles the 4-cylinder all-port turbo. In behind, coming up on Amy Griffiths here today. There's a young lady at my house watching the live stream today, a 3-year-old who was cheering on Amy Griffiths yesterday when she came to the track.
Good on you,
so there goes number 12 through there, and Amy Griffiths just getting taken by some of the faster cars there, but certainly people at home just getting a quick look at the Hog's Breath Cafe Amy Griffith car that she shares with her dad, Mark.
Should remember also, if you don't get the opportunity to see the entire stream today, if you're watching us at home now, g'day to you. You will get the opportunity to watch highlights of the racing here on Speed Week coming up in a few weeks' time on SBS and also on Fox Sports.
Certainly a great media package with the Shannons Nationals this year, and the APC will be playing to the strengths of that. There's George Karadimas. There's the damage down the side of the car. They've managed to manipulate and massage. No, you don't do that with a 10-pound sledgehammer, do you? You smack and you whack and you give it a good manipulation back onto the car. Great to see the Falcon back out there. But this Commodore, look at that, second on the road. It is being driven so well. We spoke about these guys yesterday, Lewis and Callahan. They can really do it in this car. But I tell you what, they've got some pretty famous names around them that they've got to try and chase and keep behind them in production car racing.
Another car I'm impressed with at the moment, we mentioned it before, Jazz, is that Lotus of Ryan Simpson, now pulling away from
Bob Pearson in the pits. Yeah. That's compulsory pit stop early. It's what Bob likes to do, and he likes to get in and get it done. Sorry, Tony.
No, I was going to say, just with Ryan Simpson, he's now starting to pull away from Justin Anthony in that battle that they did have, and closing in on Rick Bates as well. So that little Lotus doing a great job, as we see our leader, Beric Linton, coming in for the early pit stop as well. So we saw this happen yesterday in both races. Our leading cars, particularly Pearson, Linton, coming in early yesterday and getting the job done.
The only problem with this is if we get a safety car now.
Yeah, correct.
That's the only thing, but getting in. Michael Gray, just watching on there, last year's Class D champion, casting his eyes over the BMW. Might be writing a check out to buy himself a Beamer and go A1 class.
And that happened to Rod Salmon. You mentioned the safety car yesterday. He came in early in race 1. We had a safety car a few laps later after he'd come in, and that sort of got him pegged back into 19th.
It was dealt a cruel blow, wasn't he?
He
just
really
he lost 2 laps on that.
He has actually headed home today. It was always the plan, so Lee Burgess will be driving the car on his own in both races. Here, races 3 and 4, Rod Salmon enjoyed this one live stream.
G'day, Rod. It's been nice to have you here at the wheel, but certainly was dealt a cruel blow yesterday. Here comes, was race leader. Now just down the board a bit, Beric Linton just outside the top 10 now, as we do see George Karadimas in that Falcon, dinged up Falcon, going into the top 10. There's the Falcon heading down the straight. There's our race leader, or previous race leader. It's now Callahan in the big HSV Commodore, and he really needs to put together a string of fastest laps now in the Commodore to try and take advantage of the pit stop phase. A bit of clear air in front will certainly help. In the A2 cars, it's Anthony there as well in the number 90. getting through there. Justin Anthony, who's sharing with Carl Begg in the C63. We saw it getting racy with the Lotus across the top of the hill.
We did have to say there was a lot of competition from HSV cars, club sport cars, and the like. A couple of those
ideal track for it.
Yeah, perfect.
Ideal track.
Exactly. A couple of those New South Wales boys, and we were lucky enough to have around about a dozen or so New South Wales cars, maybe a few more, join us yesterday for racing in races 1 and 2. A couple of those boys have stuck around here for today's racing. John Bauer was in one of those with Tony Virag in the HSV VF. That was a pretty powerful car, finishing second yesterday.
It was. Just watching a swap for position in the race there on screen. That was Ryan Simpson, who's done his pit stop getting through on Rick Bates and Bob Pearson. So that once these pit stops are washed out, that will put Ryan Simpson almost into the race lead at the moment.
Just
But Derek Linton is put him up into P2. So that's a drive out of the back of the field. He was around the corner at the start line, so he didn't even see the lights. He was watching a green flag letting him know to go racing. Callahan in front though. A really good drive. This team, this lineup of names, Callahan.
I tell you where Callahan's
Lillis
getting an advantage here is he's got a clear track in front of him, whereas the other guys have been put back into traffic. So while Callahan hasn't made his pit stop yet, he is able to get that clear run. Hopefully when he comes in for the pit stop, he'll go out back in front.
Here's the interesting thing. Here's the two cars that are going to be behind him. So that's actually first, the red and black car, and these cars in front, the two Evos, the 33 and the 34, lining up for third and fourth in the race once these pit stops come out. So Callahan dispensed with them just a couple of laps ago. They've gone in for the pit stop. They're now going to go. He'd ultimately like to put them a lap down. I don't think it's going to happen at this point in time. I reckon with here on 10, coming up to 8 laps done, the big Commodore might start to be looking for a bit of nursing of the tyres. But having said that, I threw the challenge down to him to do half a dozen really quick ones. He is responding. In fact, he's into the 20s. The problem is that Derek Linton's now operating in the 18s. And looking back to where Rick Bates is, he's still in the mid-20s as well. So they're lapping it around about the same time. So not really getting away. They're still sort of in the same spot on the screen.
2017 champions, the Sherrin Rentals car of Ian and Grant Sherrin, starting 21st position today. Ian Sherrin's been able to work that car into 18th, not as quickly moving up the field as he did in race 1 yesterday when they started in 24th place. So maybe that car's still suffering some of the effects of that hit yesterday afternoon, and maybe not in the perfect condition that Ian Sherrin would like to have it at this point in time.
Oh, look, I think the Sherrin crew are well versed in having some late nights and being able to do it. They'll have put the car down. They'll have done a full setup on that car again. Now, here comes Ryan Simpson charging to the top of the hill. Let's have a look at how the Lotus handles it. Look at that. Rides the bumps, sets itself up. Oh, there goes the Alford car. Oh, no, sorry. That's a GT car. Thought that was the black Tony Alford car then. Instead, it was a magnificent Raging Bull Lamborghini REX.
And me scrambling to think what car was 49. I didn't think we had one.
Right. Yep. So here is Class C. This will be one of the Colin Osborne Motorsport cars. We'll actually have a bit of a look and a focus as to how the classes are panning out. Ryan Simpson goes through in the car he's sharing with Jim Policina.
I can tell you that the Orban brothers are currently leading Class C at the moment, Daz. Getting a good run as they have all weekend so far. Karadimas in second place behind the 111 car of Michael Benton, the Falcon GT in Class B.
Gee, Ryan Simpson's giving this little Lotus a real workout, over ripple strips, bouncing around, pushing very, very hard to try and drag back some spots or get those seconds back so that they can really be at the end of 60 minutes in a commanding position. We've still got 42 minutes left in this race. We've had a lot of the pit stops done. A couple of BMWs getting pretty willing with it here. So it's car 1 getting through on car 4, the Anthony Magidis car. It's Sewell at the wheel at the moment. In fact, Sewell is second on the road. Still to do a pit stop. Tony Alford in the pits, as we mentioned.
As we continue to go through the classes, Daz, Declan Fraser in the Toyota 86 also the leading car in Class D at the moment, and the little MG of James Brock and Elliot Barber for MG Motorsport, down in 21st overall, 21st overall.
690-12.
Yes, exactly. And leading Class E for the Brock team there. Nathan Callahan into the pits now. This will be interesting to see how this pans out for the big Commodore.
I tell you what though, Tony, you hit on something there with 21th. It's really good to have an Australian production car race with over 21 cars on the track, isn't it?
45 cars on track yesterday.
Yeah.
It was an amazing start. We lost a few of those. We're down to 24 today with the National Series continuing. Our New South Wales friends have made their way back up the highway.
Having said that, a couple of them have hung around, like this car here, the High-Tech Oils, the CSV Mondo, or Old Monaro, you might like to know it as, but it certainly has been down to the CSV factory, renamed a Mondo. So an interesting iteration on the Monaro there. Not a HSV, a CSV. Very New South Wales, that is, that's for sure.
Keeping our eye on pit lane. Callahan's still there. Berwick Linton now has passed him down the line. So Linton goes back into the lead as Callahan continues just to move down the ladder a bit. He's now coming out of pit lane and will rejoin the track very shortly. So I would suggest that he will come out.
Chris Lillis now at the wheel.
Yeah, just behind Simpson. So Simpson moving into second place.
This is going to be interesting. This is like your good old-fashioned David in Goliath, isn't it? A bit of HSV and a bit of Lotus. It's
with an M3 out the front of him.
Yeah, yeah. Production cars. That's what it's about. And there we go. There's the two product cars as well, working in tandem.
The Evo's chasing.
Yep.
15 marks represented here across the category. The Jacuzzi Spas Australian Production Car Series stepped up to a brand new level in 2018 and will culminate in a massive 6-hour race down at Phillip Island in the first weekend of November.
Gee, looking forward to that. That's going to be a ripper. In fact, Phillip Island's going to have a fantastic month in November, bookmarked with the national, the 6-hour for production cars, and then Island Magic the last weekend down there, which will be hosting the last round of the Australian Sports Sedan Championship. So if you've got a couple of weekends spare, first weekend and last weekend in November, get to the island. Our leaderboard now has Sewell and the BMW still to come in. Nick Benton, that's a good run for the Falcon. It'll be interesting to see where they come out. But on screen now, this is for place in the race. This will be Rick Bates on Chris Lillis. Chris Lillis spearing out wide there, using every bit of hard top he could put underneath
Bob
the Commodore.
Pearson trying to get through as well.
What it's doing, though, is we're going to have 3 wide. Teammates 2 wide with each other, and a big black and red menacing HSV on the outside. It's the HSV that drives away in a straight line.
They just lack a little at top end, don't they, the Evos?
Have a look at this, not lacking for grip through the corner, though.
Without a doubt.
Something interesting which I've just worked out. Rick Bates has got yellow on one door and blue on the other, throwing a bit of confusion there for us. So they did have 3 of these Evo 10s, the product car. So Lillis goes down 2 spots, and that is where a little nimble 4-wheel drive car will get you when you're got a pretty hot under the collar HSV. So yeah, there's 2 we're seeing on screen now. There was a third one of these product cars. The third one was the yellow one. So there was always red, blue and yellow. The yellow car now is being made into a time attack car, so it doesn't actually have operating doors or anything like that. It's probably got some sort of complicated louver door or something like that. But obviously using the spare doors off that car on the Rick Bates car, so it's actually yellow and blue. Interesting combination by the product team to have the 2 different colours on the same car. Here we see that pass again, where Chris Lillis, who is fresh into the car, so won't be into the groove yet,
and fresh tyres as well too.
And gets through there. So they seem to have driven away a little bit now. And the advantage the HSV had with Callahan at the wheel has just been lost ever so slightly. Chris Lillis will be, well, if he wasn't hot under the collar, he will be now after 2 Evos going through on him like that.
Those Evos have probably had an extra 4 or 5 laps on the track before Callahan came in to change to Lillis, so that has given them an opportunity to get those tyres up to a bit of a better operating temperature, and as a result we saw the ensuing passing move on that big HSV Commodore. Back in the pack, nice little battle pack happening. Russell in front, and the number 4 car there as well. The BMW 1M of Anthony Sewell. Markides. There's a Sharon Reynolds car making its way up the field now into 14th place. Ian Sharon doing the job.
A bit of a battle here. The Dimitri Agathos car there as well. So this is 14, 15, 16 on the road as we see Russell driving on through there as well, heading out after the BMW. And the WRX just wanting something here this weekend, not charging as hard as what it did towards the end of last season. They're just left wanting. There's something not quite right there as he dives down the inside with the big Falcon. And Jeff Russell leaves plenty of room for the A1 car to go through there. It's not a battle he needs to weigh in on. Jeff Russell down on the B1 car. So the car coming through on him is an outright A1 car, as are these two Evos getting through on Amy Griffith. The Foxworth Cafe Toyota Echo.
I'm tipping there's no team orders happening between these two. Bob
no,
Pearson
but I tell you what's really cool about it is that both Rick Bates and Bob Pearson are matching each other for pace at the moment.
Which always makes them such a lethal combination when they're driving together in the longer endurance races.
This 4 1-hour format, which we did at Sydney Motorsport Park last year with the production cars, was 4 races that Bob Pearson won. He won all 4 of the races over the weekend, so he enjoys the format. But at the moment, he's having a bit of a problem with the car that he owns with a rig-in driver in it in front of him.
If I remember correctly, though, Rick Bates wasn't there that weekend. He was having a weekend with his son.
Correct.
Just because he hadn't had that for a while.
They were going motorbike riding.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep.
So these two guys turning it on.
And I guess kind of appropriately, it is Father's Day, so Dad's out doing racing today. Sorry, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
So
it's all yours, Mum.
Mum's at home. Actually, they might even be at the track, the family. His wife worked in motorsport for a long, long time.
Whole family.
Yeah.
Neil, of course, as well.
So the two product cars running line astern with each other. The 83 and the 33. Rick Bates and Bob Pearson. Lots of success in these cars over many, many years. Of course, we go back to Stewie Costera, who driving the Rally Art car for Alan Heafy. They developed these cars to get to the pointy end. And then all of a sudden, there was 10 of them across the top 15. Many, many teams. Wow, here we go. Here's some class battles going on. Amy Griffiths again in the middle of that battle. So getting cheered on at home on the live stream is Amy Griffith here on Mother's Day. Going through on that Monaro is the Lee Burgess car, running wide out over the ripple strip. Bang, bang. Testing the shock absorbers, the dampers as they handle it. The Aqualuma Actron Air Mercedes. Of course, last year was driven with Will Brown at Wakeful Park. They were rapid. And, of course, Rod Salmon and Lee Burgess this weekend. Rod's taken leave for today, headed back to New South Wales, and Lee will do the driving duties all by himself. Just getting a good look at the number 17 of Kyle Orban there as well, leading the Class C battle over Callan Jones.
Fastest lap of the race with Merrick Linton, our leader at the moment, a 10-second gap on Ryan Simpson in the Lotus. So it's the BMW M3 up front, the Lotus Exige in second place. And then effectively on track, it is Rick Bates in third and Bob Pearson in fourth. On the timesheet, though, it is Michael Benton currently sitting in third place. The car he shares with Hayden Morale, the Ford Falcon GT, yet to take their pit stop. So our 4 A1 cars, Linton, Simpson, Bates and Pearson. Let's have a look at the gap between Linton and Simpson. This shot here, it gives it to us. There is Simpson now. We saw Linton go through just a little bit earlier, well, in fact 10 seconds earlier through that shot. So it's a fairly wide margin, which I suppose will get
a good look at it as they come out of turn 4
and
start to work their way up the back straight. Beric Linton is well and truly up under the sign over the track there. Here comes Ryan Simpson now, so gives us a really good feeling of where it is. Ravage Motorsports across the back of this Lotus. Good support of Dino down there, putting this together. Of course, has worked with Jim Policino for a long time. And will probably jump on board this car, I dare say, at some stage. Here we go here. This is Chris Lillis. And he slides into the corner. Great shots of the wheel at work, the suspension at work there, and out over there, and airborne off the, well, the back edge of the jump, if you like. Need a bit of Matt Nolte here calling jumping trucks, stadium trucks, to let us know how that all lands.
Big lock up there for Rick Bates, but was able to get the job done up the inside of the Ford Falcon. His teammate Bob Pearson getting through as well. They remain in tandem and committed to that third and fourth position at the moment.
Jason Miller in the A1 car, the Evo 9, currently in 10th place. We saw it off the back of the last shot. And the big GT Falcon coming down in behind these two Evos there as well. And that'll be Mick Benton. That's actually the first of the B1 cars and he's 5th on the road. So he's actually behind these guys in the race. That's the shot there from third, 4th and 5th. In the back of the shot there. Here it is. Here's the Falcon we're talking about. And this is them going through on Mick about a lap or two ago. Rick Bates up on the ripple strip there, getting through. The FEDC contracting Falcon there, just getting through. So Mick Benton, very, very experienced GT Falcon racer.
Whoa,
big contact there with Carrot Demas and Ryan Simpson. Amy Griffith was in the middle of the road there, trying to stay out of what was coming through. And boy, that was a return to the action. Smack bang right underneath the Penrite Oils sign there, and I would have weighing anything in on it that there's some broken drive line in the back of that Lotus.
There's no drive, full stop. It is
Simpson
not going
just
anywhere.
Wondering what went on there. So
real shame for the Lotus of Ryan Simpson, currently sitting, it was, in 2nd place. Now dropped down to the bottom of the timesheets. It's been a tough couple of days for the 3 Lotus Exeges that we've had here this weekend. D'Alberto and Denia losing their car on the Friday in practice. And you saw what happened there.
Jeff Russell at the wheel of the Carademas Falcon there. Here we go. Here's the run. There's Amy Griffiths. She's staying to the left of the track, staying out of the way. And it was Jeff Russell getting pretty pushy with Ryan Simpson there.
And that wasn't for position either. So.
And they're not even in the same class.
No.
So it's an interesting coming together out there. And I guess Amy, we know she's not going to have the pace of those cars in the class ahead of her, but she was staying right over
she
to the...
She couldn't do any more, I would have
right
thought.
over to the right-hand side of the track. And by rights, they do have to find their way past her. She's... Yep, Ryan Simpson's still stationary. I would expect that we may even see full course yellows at some point here.
Yeah, it's in a fairly precarious position. I would have thought that car, and there it is. The safety car has been released, and we will go under safety car with 28 minutes remaining in this race. An absolute shame for the number 7 Lotus Exige of Ryan Simpson and Jim Policino. Copping a big side-on hit. Let's have a look at the replay again of what happened.
Yeah, Jeff Russell, the presence of mind to probably not see the Lotus, how low it is there. That would have been a fairly good check of the left-hand mirror to see it was clear. And
but
no, it wasn't.
Having said that, Des, he was that far up on the car that he probably wouldn't have even seen him in his left-hand mirror.
Yep, absolutely. We've seen the safety car actually emerge out of pit lane. Yes, here comes the safety car now out of pit lane.
Just waiting for our leader, Barry Clinton, to come down the straight. He'll pick him up now.
So there we see the Ryan Simpson Lotus, going to be a flat toe right in front of the MSC signs, one of our great partners that help us go racing with the Shannons Nats. Here's some highlights of the start of the race.
And on the safety car.
The highlight, I guess, out of this stanza of the race, the first run to turn 1 was that BMW just charging. Watch this.
Because that was an amazing start for
just
the
got
Bates.
third gear and just whooshka
Yeah.
down into turn 1. And there goes that Evo 9 that we've been talking about, the Jason Miller car. Actually currently in the race in position 7, rejoined there. Here we go, here we see a bit of V8 versus little sports car battle, the C63 under brakes at the top of the hill there. And this is a battle that raged for a number of laps now with Nathan Callahan and Rick Bates. In the end, it was actually Nathan Callahan that took out that little stanza of the race, that took the win out of that. Unfortunately, it didn't last too long once the pit stop happened and Chris Lillis got behind the wheel. He was just struggled to get up to pace. And here we go again. This was the battle. The big HSV had to put up with the charge being put up by Rick Bates, and eventually they both got through on him down there. So Chris Lillis arrested that spot. Here's Dimitri Agathos underneath Jeff Russell. And it was only about a lap later that we saw what caused this current safety car phase that we're in at the moment. Cars left, right and centre of Amy Griffiths. She holds her line well. She just holds her line. There's no knee-jerk reaction to try and get out of their way. They've got to get round it.
Too.
Sorry?
Held her nerve too, not just her line.
Absolutely. And, well, when you go out in a Toyota Echo, when you know you're going to have HSVs and Evos and big Mercs and stuff chasing you down, Whoa! Yeah, it's coming your way. Down the inside now, this was Mick Benton. Lock up by Rick Bates. Sharing with Hadrian Morel in the Falcon. And here's what caused our current safety car. The Falcon avoided, no, it still had contacts. Yes, the safety car, the BMW Melbourne safety car will go back to the pits. He's got a good and distinct advantage here. He can go, and those guys can't actually pass the cars in front until they get to that control line. And then we see the Begg car trying to go through. And Rick Bates is being gazumped by team leader Bob Pearson. And they're actually going to go side by side up to turn 1, and Bob will have it. He's got it. Rick Bates has seen Team Boss go streaming on through with Colin Osborne now logged in between the Golf GTI-R behind them. And there goes the car that was involved in that melee that caused the safety car, the big Falcon. Now got matching smashed up left and right hand sides of the car.
Great restart there for Bob Pearson, puts him in front of Rick Bates, but Beric Linton with a nice little buffer of around about 6 cars between himself and Bob Pearson is going to start to increase that lead. Currently it's already 5 seconds and we haven't even got to the end of the first lap as yet, so Bob Pearson with a fair bit of work to do in front of him before he can start to make any inroads, if he does at all.
Yep, got some work to do. Dimitri Agathos now in the mix there, albeit that I think they're actually a lap down in the Subaru. Just pick up where
they are a lap down at the moment.
Yeah, the full
currently
gas
13th place.
Tough weekend for those guys. They'll bounce back. They're proper races. They're here for the competition, that's for sure. So Amy Griffith's been into the pit lane. Now Mark Griffiths at the wheel will complete the final 20 minutes. And there's some big black lines on the road again coming out of the back of the AMG. The number 90 car has not been afraid of putting out some number 11s down the road, spinning up the back wheels in the Boss surveillance car. Must be Justin Anthony at the wheel there at the moment. Yes, it is in 11th place on the road. Car number 66, Dimitri Agathos, is in 13th, but a lap down. And here comes Chris Lillis dragging through one of the Mercedes as well. So that's actually for position as well. Lillis and the Mercedes behind. Here's a replay. Here's the black lines, a bit of Summonat style coming out of turn 1. Gee, you can't do that. You can't do that for too many laps in a row, that's for sure. Tell you what, there's been a number of protagonists that are laying a bit of rubber here today. You're not going to get right through to the end of the hour of racing if you're doing that. Oh, now a bit of drift work for Justin Anthony.
Getting it all here at Sandown.
Mixing it all up using the power of the V8.
The weekend not all over for the Lotus cars. 3 of them here this weekend, and still the number 54 car, the Alford car of Kyle and Anthony, currently in 4th place at the moment. So
Yeah,
wouldn't they love to get themselves onto a 3rd place into the podium, and it'd be a nice little finish.
The Simply Sports Cars entry, they would like to get a good finish after the other car has had substantial damage. So if you're just wondering, it's the Exige 350 Sport. 350 indicating, I guess, horsepower, because the old Sport 190 was the horsepower. So if it is horsepower, they've marched the numbers up substantially.
Yeah.
That was the Lotus Elise back in 1998. That run as part of the GTP Championship. As we start to sort things out, Lee Burge has now gone through on Lillis, so dropping back another spot after Nathan Callahan held the lead. Now currently sitting back in 6th place, but still first car in A2. So they're still holding their own. The battle for that outright lead is not theirs. Of course, they can weigh in on it, but being A2, the next car on the road from them is Jason Anthony down in 10th place. It's a fair way back down through the field as Bob Pearson feels as though, Rick Bates feels as though Bob Pearson's got the better of the Evos under him at the moment as he starts to battle it out with the bright orange BMW.
The Mercedes of Lee Burgess now in the chase of Anthony Alford in the Lotus. That'll be a good little battle for 4th.
Shane Smollen currently at the wheel, I think. Yes, it is Shane Smollen in the 38. So experienced Carrera Cup racer, taking it up to Rick Bates, not relinquishing it too easy at all. Here's the number 54, the last remaining Lotuses in the race, the Simply Sports Car entry. I guess a bit of a tough weekend for the Simply Sports Car race team, but at the moment, they're looking poised to come home 4th in this race.
You can see the gap there between the 54 Lotus and the number 6 Mercedes is currently 3 seconds on the timesheet. It's a little bit closer on the track.
Dimitri Agathos just getting out of the way of the charging Mercedes, getting through.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely. Still an A1 car though, but not being able to match the pace of their other A1 competitors at the moment. Dimitri Agathos, still got Ridge in the A1 car behind him. Brad Woods and Ridge in that car. This car 1. How's their progress? Ian Sherrin
up to 8th at the moment. Started 21st position, so Ian Sherrin doing pretty much exactly what he did in race 1 yesterday, taking that car from 24th yesterday to 2nd, before Grant, unfortunately, in race number 2, having that off, the car going back in the field today. And once again, Ian Sherrin working it through. Currently in 8th place. Still a bit of work to do to get into 2nd. I don't think he will today. But if he can get up towards the top 5, top 6, give Grant Sherrin a good hit at it.
Have a look at the brakes glowing up on the big Falcon. They've got issues now. You're seeing the brakes glowing up in daylight. They are well and truly overheating. Oh, the Lillis Commodore now in the lane. So there could be an issue there for the number 54, the red and black HSV. Here comes young Christian Fitzgerald. And yes, son of Peter Fitzgerald. Had a brief chat with Pete last night. He's pretty happy with the way they're going. As always, Fitzy doesn't want to give away anything, but good to see next generation coming through in the Evolve Technic BMW, one of the country's leading BMW specialists and European car modifiers. They do a tremendous job, based out of, I think, Lexington Court in Box Hill. So keep an eye on the Evolve Technic car. If he's, Christian's anything like his father, he'll be making big inroads, of course, sharing with Brent Howard in the number 96 car at the moment. Christian at the wheel and currently 13th on the road. There it is, the red, white and black BMW with the number 5 car chasing him down. Another one of the BMWs there as well. So BMW's represented quite strongly across the field this weekend. Here comes Sherrin in the number 1. Get a good look at their form now that they've Christian
Fitzgerald
just goes off.
Bit of rally
racing. Commentator's curse. Yeah. Giving him a good rap, certainly making his way into the production car championship. There's a couple of Evos that are getting used to running line of stern with them, and very, very famous Mark MG with the famous Australian motor racing name Brock. Young James behind the wheel there. Well, not so young James anymore.
No,
been around some time. Yeah, absolutely.
So Bob Pearson, Rick Bates on screen. That is Pearson in the 33. Bates in the 83 behind him. Running second and third behind the M3 of Berwick Linton. 10-second margin has been worked out by Linton over these two Evos in a couple of laps from the restart. Having said that, though, the Evos did have to work their way through a fair bit of traffic to get themselves into some clear air. Fastest lap of the race belonging to Berwick Linton at 1:18.18, which effectively is right up there with the perceived best time over the three sectors of 1:18.03. So Berwick Linton doing the best. Having said that, though, he is only the fastest in sector 2. It was the Lotus of Simpson that had best times through sector 1 and sector 3. Probably no surprise that the little nimble Lotus would do well through the windy parts.
Yeah, famous for it, the Lotuses, absolutely. Just watching how the product team start to work this race as Bob Pearson is now into P2 and a white smoke trailing off the car there as well. I didn't quite pick up whether it was a lock-up or not, but we're used to seeing the puff of dark fuel-y type smoke coming out of these cars as the management system looks after the turbo, trying to keep it cool, but white smoke is not what you want to see ever out of a turbo car. If you're around in the Group A or whenever a Sierra puffed a bit of white smoke out, it wasn't too many metres afterwards that it became a huge plume of smoke as the turbo was on fire. Amy Griffith there as well, back of shot, driving well, the number 12. She's currently in 25th place. Ryan Simpson has gone to the lane in the number 7 and still remains there. So further issues to contend with.
12 minutes remaining on the clock, or under 12 minutes now. Race 3 of the weekend for the Jacuzzi Spas 2018 Australian Production Car Series. And Berwick Linton increases his lead by a second a lap. Now up to 11 seconds gap between himself and Bob Pearson. Rick Bates in third place. It is Anthony Orphan in the Lotus Exige in fourth, and then Lee Burgess in the Mercedes in fifth place. Our top 5 right there. Aaron Russell, I should say, in car number 4, the Property Investment Store BMW 1M. Good drive for them. They're currently in 6th place with the number 20 car of Jason Miller, the Stoke Skies Australia Evo 9, which he shares with David Wall. We haven't seen David in this race 3. Presume he'll probably take the wheel through race 4.
Tremendous battle going on here. This is for position on the road between Fitzgerald and Hodges. Here we go. Here's the look down the inside. The CSV Mondo looks to the inside. The number 16 going through there of Hodges on Christian Fitzgerald in the Evolved Technic BMW, but now they're side by side again. Fitzgerald just looks back in behind the back of the Monaro, and both locking up inside rears, and there's a car number 1 right behind them that wants to get out of this battle. For currently sitting in 8th, these guys are battling it out for 13th. They're going to go a lap down to the car in 8th position very, very soon. The number 1 staying with it. The number 16, CSV Mondo, driving very, very hard up the hill to try and keep these cars behind. 5.7 litre. The Gen 3, as it was known back then, on board. Tough engine to take racing. But it's Evolved Technic BMW with Christian Fitzgerald at the wheel and last year's champions behind. He's doing a fair bit of locking up on that left-hand front tyre, which I guess is probably the one you want to do it on. You certainly don't want to do it on the right front tyre here at Sandown. You'll get one opportunity to do it and you'll overheat it, and that'll be the end of it. Here as well. C63. It's Justin Anthony. They're going to go down a lap here to these Evos. Not up the straight, they're not, because the AMG will drive away nicely. Here's a couple of Class C cars just up the road. In fact, going to play into this right now. It's just an Anthony can see Rick Bates ranging up on him. Class C car just staying over to driver's right. Staying over to driver's right, but not relinquishing anything. Well, they don't have to. He's still chasing that yellow car around in front there, so number 13 well within the right to be on that part of track.
Going through that time, and one would expect that Rick Bates isn't too far away from also rejoining his teammate. Formation.
So Berwick Linton, a 14-second lead at the moment with 8 minutes left. You'd have to say is safe and secure, albeit any safety cars or issues under his own watch. There's Rick Bates just bashing the Evo over the top of the curves there, disappearing up, big, wide entry to turn 4. We'll see Bob Pearson drive on through past the C63.
Race 3 of the weekend. Berwick Linton taking out races 1 and 2 in fairly convincing fashion, and it would seem, all things being equal, he will do the same in race number 3.
Geez, he's setting himself up nicely, isn't he, early on in the season?
Fantastic way to start the year for Berwick Linton. Currently our category and overall leader in A1. Jason Anthony in the Mercedes C63, currently the leader in A2 category.
He's just been dispensed by those 2 A1 Evos. They charge up the straight. Here's our race leader now, Berwick Linton, car number 23, the Bruce Linton Body Shop Paint and Panel Experts. And around through turn 4, he goes. Gee, not sparing the horses too, running off the back of the ripple strip there, bouncing it around, still driving it as hard as they possibly can. Did the fastest lap of the race on lap 2, a 1:18.18, and has been thereabouts pretty much all through the race. 19s, occasionally getting back into the high 18s, but setting a race pace, picking it at about a 1:19 second lap, and staying there, making sure that everyone else is kept at bay. 15 seconds back to Bob Pearson.
Hayden Morale, our leader in B1 category, as we keep working through those. Cole Orban in C class, leading that category as well. Declan Fraser in D class, in 19th overall, but currently leading D. And down to a good battle between Brock and Griffin for E class. Brock having the upper hand in that one at the moment, the little MG.
Good debut for the MG Motorsport crew. Brock Racing Enterprises team looking after things there for them.
Having said that, there's still a race to go this afternoon before category winners can be announced. But having said that, it's been a great first 3 races.
Really enjoy the 4-race format, the 4 one-hour race format. The number 50 Volkswagen exploring the back of the ripple strip at turn 1. A regularly visited bit of real estate here at Sandown, isn't it?
Certainly is.
The hard stand off the back of turn 1 ripple strip. There's James Brock in the MG Motorsport car. Bit of a stylised Union Jack off the back quarter panel there.
As they should.
The historical heartbeat of MG, for sure. In A1, so the New South Wales outfit going through in car number 4.
Aaron Russell in that car, in the BMW 1M.
So our visitors from New South Wales, a few of them stayed on. Simon Hodges, Christian Fitzgerald in there as well. So they're currently running 13th and 14th on the road. Gaining Jacuzzi Spa's Australian Production Car Championship points.
Steve Hodges also from New South Wales as well. That's CSV Mondo. There's our A2 leader, car 90, Justin Anthony, the Mercedes C63. Currently currently sitting in 9th place overall.
And that Volkswagen going out over the back of the ripple strip again. In fact, interesting now that Dustin Anthony just going over his own black lines he left out of turn 1 there. So he's got a signature off the back of turn 1 there. And charging on up the hill. So numerous classes being represented here today. Hadrian Morale leading B1, the green Falcon, car number 111. This is the A2 car leading nicely. Amy Griffith leading D. And let's have a look at Class C, Tone. It's still Kyle Orban.
There is the Car 16 class, another one of the New South Wales cars. It is the car that belongs to the combination of Hodges and Robert Coulthard, the High-Tech Oils Smith & Sons CSV Mondo.
So the story on the Lillis car is that they've got mechanical issues. They're not willing to confirm or deny or drill down on that, but mechanical issues is what is going on with the Lillis car. So
well, we were right. We said they had a problem.
Had a problem. That's right. So Nathan Callahan drove really, really well early on in the day. Maybe he used up just a bit too much of the car. Here's the number 16 High-Tech Oils car. Gen 3 power plant. And charging up the long straight here at Sandown International Raceway. Here's a bit of a pack of cars running together. This is Jason Miller in the Evo 9. Look like Colin Osborne there as well. James Brock, and don't think Dimitri Agathos is still at the wheel. Yes, he is. Dimitri Agathos is still at the wheel of the WRX. Steve Hodges coming through. Leading Class C car, Kyle Orban.
Yep.
Can't miss him.
No, fairly fluorescent.
Obviously going onto a work site, pulling the high vis on. Bathurst McDonald's.
I've had a feed there a couple of times.
Would have had, yeah,
yes.
We all.
Yes,
exactly.
3 o'clock in the morning. Oh, goodness me.
Orders being phoned through as we speak. Number 17 doing a strong job. Class C has been hotly contested for so many years now. Continues to do so.
Oh, this is not good.
This is the latest news. When both commentators give a simultaneous
groan.
Car number 1 struggling.
Ian Sherrin.
Is that damage on the right-hand rear guard?
Hard to tell from the wide shot. But Ian Sherrin behind the wheel of that BMW.
Rick Bates looking like he's moving
he has to.
Look like he's moving over there. So we're ticking down now. 30 seconds left in this one. So that may have been what was being organised.
Well, Rick Bates has definitely taken second position ahead of Bob Pearson. And we have no sign of that number 1 BMW M4 for Sherrin Rentals. Ian and Grant Sherrin. We saw it down the back straight, hobbling home. Will it make it? A fair bit of work done on that car overnight.
So this product team are certainly not giving up on Bob. Bob goes through again, swapping position. That's 2 position swaps within the team in the last half a lap.
They're just having a bit of fun between themselves.
Why not? And why not? Both of them, not right now, but I reckon as soon as they get to the line, we'll be laughing their heads off. I've had a ripping hour between them.
And they're just the 2 that would be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And get out of the car and probably have a little wrestle on the ground afterwards as well to continue it on.
We should mention Beric Linton, though, in the number 23 BMW M3, who is making his way now towards the finish line. Time has elapsed, so the checkered flag will be out. The Sherrin car parked on the side of the road. And there it is. Beric Linton taking out race 3 of the Jacuzzi Spas Australian Production Car Series ahead of Bob Pearson and Rick Bates. Well, that is the order they're currently in. Whether that's the order they finish in will be another thing. Anthony Alford in 4th place. Aaron Russell in 5th. Burgess, Miller, Anthony, Ridge and Smollett making up our top 10. So interested to see what may have happened to that M4. Daz been going on fairly nicely right throughout the entire race, expiring with possibly 2, maybe 3 laps to go. As the Class C and D and E cars start to make their way over the line as well to finish this race. We'll go through our finishes in just a tick through the classes. 3 down, 1 to go.
Miller getting through there in the Wall Racing presented car. Looking forward to seeing the Evo 9 taking part right throughout this year's production cars. Dimitri Agathos and Lachlan Gibbons. In fact, Dimitri Agathos drove that whole race. And here we have it, Beric Linton taking race 3 for the Jacuzzi Spas Australian production cars from Bob Pearson on the line over Rick Bates, both in their Evo 10s. Tony Alford through in the Lotus Exige. Great to see them result. Aaron Russell in the 1M, Lee Burgess in the Mercedes A45, Jason Miller, Justin Anthony, Drew Ridge, Shane Smollen in the 2nd of the 1Ms, finishing there in 10th.
On the second page, Dimitri Agathos in the Subaru. In 11th place, Steve Hodges, Hayden Morale, Christian Fitzgerald, Kyle Orban. Ian Sherrin finishing in 16th place, James Keane, Callum Jones, Declan Fraser and Jeff Wool making up our top 20.
21st, we'll go to Jeff Russell in the Falcon, getting to the line there. Dinged up on both sides now. Matt Thulis in the JCW, 5 laps down at the finish there. The James Brock bringing the MG6 home, 5 laps from the finish there as well. Here's the highlights from the start, and watch this blue BMW.
That was a 10-metre gap that Bates put on.
Have a look at the BM just start to haul it away. It was only about 100 metres that it got right up on pace, but it was enough for it to stamp its authority on the early stanza of this race. And there's the Evo 9 of Miller off in the dirt there. Lucky 4-wheel drive rally ability there.
Dragged down the line. That was Nathan Callahan and Rick Bates taking each other on. Callahan, the victor in that battle at that point in time. Unfortunately, though, for them, him and his teammate Chris Lewis losing their car later in the race. Ian Sherrin, we saw there, just picking up spots, and he did that at will throughout the race, starting in 21st, got up to around about 7th position. As, again, that Lewis car getting a beautiful shot in the camera there and getting airborne as well.
So we called on our mate Matt Nolte to give us a bit of a landing from some stadium trucks, didn't we? He would have known what to say there. And this, well, this is going to be a bit of chit-chat in the pitch up. Parramatta Smash Repairs, Mocom Lotus and the Falcon into the side there. I dare say it was just down too low.
Seriously, I don't reckon so.
Yep, that's certainly it. Boy, there was some traffic. Big traffic jams. Here we go. Carlberg playing the number 11s. Lots of horsepower in the AMG. And hooked them up nicely there. Disappearing. Christian Fitzgerald disappearing out over the back of the ripple strip. Not the first and not the last to have done that in this race for the Jacuzzi Spas Australian production cars. The Evolved Technic BMW coming under fire here from Steve Hodges in the CSV Mondo from High Tech Oils, and then it was on with a bit of a drag race. Continued on for a couple of laps here. Big lock up left rear as he unweighted the car under brakes. And there goes the GTI R. And did that 2 laps in a row off the back of the rip strip there, and he was our eventual race winner. Beric Linton receiving the checkered flag there.